the time of her construction, the Titanic was the largest ship ever built. 882 feet, 9 inches long, and standing nearly 20 stories high. Her weight was over 46,000 tons. Her hull spanned 4 city blocks. Decks encompassing 370 first-class cabins, 168 second-class cabins, and 297 third-class cabins. Accommodations for up to 3,547 people. Mechanically, she was the state-of-the-art, fitted with 29 boilers, 159 furnaces. Each of her steam engines was the size of a 3-story house. Over 6,000 tons of coal filled her coal bunker. From her innovative double-bottomed keel to her 16 watertight compartments, Titanic was considered unsinkable. Each compartment had doors that were designed to close automatically if the water level rose above a certain height. The Titanic would be able to stay afloat if any 2 compartments or the first floor became flooded. According to her builders, even in the worst possible accident at sea, Titanic was virtually unsinkable. But we know that on April 14th, 1912, Titanic sideswiped an iceberg and sank in 2 hours and 40 minutes. Years later, this is what's left of Titanic, a tangled wreck on the ocean floor. Thousands of broken pieces. But from her rust-covered remains, you may still be able to figure out what happened in her last moments. Well, it's very important to find out where all the objects wound up. And then you can work backwards from that to sort of reconstruct how the processes got started. You got to peel away the bottom impact. You got to understand what happened in the water column. You got to understand what happened at the surface. Then maybe you can work your way back to what actually set off the sinking in the first place. It's like a murder mystery case where some piece of evidence is an outlier. Everything fits perfectly, but there's one outlying piece of evidence that seems so trivial, and yet it unwinds everything else. It's a great forensic process to go through. It's the same thing that they do in an NTSB analysis of a crash site for an airliner. Now, how did that engine get way over there? How did that wind up 2 miles back? You can't really piece together what happened until you can account for every single piece and where it got there. 400 miles off the coast of Newfoundland and 2.5 miles beneath the surface of the North Atlantic lies Titanic. The wreck site spans a mile of the seafloor and is anything but accessible. It takes about 2.5 hours to descend in a submersible. Daylight doesn't reach this depth. It's eternal darkness. Here we find the bow and stern sections 2,000 feet apart. We find the ship's boilers clustered east of the stern, cargo cranes sheared from the deck, broken pieces of funnel, ground up shell plating, sections of the ship's keel or double bottom, rudders and propellers pinned in the sediment intact, an open shell door at D-deck. There are serving plates, teacups, shoes, countless personal artifacts. These are all clues in the mystery. What caused this magnitude of destruction? How can we begin to make sense of it? So it's good to wrap our heads around this at a debris field map.
It's part of that crime scene recreation of seeing everything on this macro level. We can get down to individual images of each individual piece, but you need the context of it. You need to keep that forest in sight. You have to have that map of the wreck site to do any meaningful forensics.
Titanic's bow and stern are torn in two and lie apart, like a crime scene where the body and head are on opposite sides of the room. You can see it. You can see it on the debris field map here. It's a very interesting thing. Bow points north and it's partly dug into the sediment. Its open end is ragged. It's not a clean break. At first glance, it appears the farthest object north, but there's the #1 cargo hatch, and that's 260 feet forward of the bow. And the hatch bolts are all severed. So what did that? And how did the bow break from the stern? What did this? The stern points south, facing the opposite direction of the bow. It looks like a bomb hit it. To the east of the stern lie 5 boilers from Boiler Room 1, the midsection of the ship. I think the location of these boilers is our first lead. If you just draw a circle around those 5 boilers, and you take the center of that circle, I think that's where the ship broke up at the surface. Okay, these 5 boilers help us to find the hypocenter, the ground zero for the disaster. The hypocenter, directly underneath where the breakup took place on the bottom, would be where the heaviest and most uniform objects would be clustered. And with it, we can extrapolate the journey taken by each part of the ship from the surface to where we find them today on the bottom.